when men always come back after rejecting you. Rejection is not a reflection of your worth. There will be moments in life when someone you love, someone you trust, will look you in the eyes and say, "You are not what I want." And in that moment, it will feel as if the ground beneath you has disappeared, as if the sky has darkened, as if everything you believed about yourself was just an illusion. But listen to me carefully. Rejection is not a reflection of your worth. People do not reject you because you are not enough. They reject you because they are unable to see the light within you. Sometimes they are blinded by their own fears, their own insecurities, their own inability to recognize something rare and beautiful when it stands before them. And that is not your fault. We grow up believing that love is something we must earn, that if we are good enough, beautiful enough, or perfect enough, people will stay. But that is not love. That is a transaction. And love, real love, does not measure you in terms of what you can offer. It does not walk away because of a flaw. It does not need you to prove your worth over and over again. So when someone rejects you, do not stand in front of the mirror and wonder what is wrong with you. Do not spend your nights replaying every conversation, trying to find the moment where you should have been better. Do not let one person's inability to see your value make you forget who you are, because your worth is not determined by who stays or who leaves. It is not defined by the people who fail to choose you. It is something unshakable, something that exists within you, untouched by the opinions of those who do not understand it. And if someone cannot see your light, do not dim yourself to make them comfortable. Shine anyway. Because the right people, the ones meant for you, will never need to lose you to understand what they had. Growth happens in the space they left behind. There will come a time when someone you held so close, someone who was once the center of your world, will walk away, leaving behind nothing but silence. At first, that silence will be deafening. It will echo in your heart, reminding you of every conversation that will never happen again, every dream you built around them that now stands unfinished. But my dear, do not mistake that emptiness for loss. Do not think that their absence is a void that can never be filled, because growth, real, profound, life-changing growth, happens in the space they left behind. When people leave, they take with them the parts of you that depended on their presence. They take away the comfort of familiarity, the illusion of permanence, the expectations you had built around them. And in that space, you are left with nothing but yourself. That is where the transformation begins. In their absence, you learn to stand on your own. You discover that your happiness was never meant to be held in someone else's hands. You start to dream again, this time not for them, but for yourself. The quiet nights that once felt unbearable become moments of self-discovery. The roads you thought you could never walk alone become paths of strength, leading you to places you never imagined. You see, people think loss is the end of something, but loss is just the beginning of becoming. It forces you to shed the parts of yourself that were tied to them. It pushes you to redefine who you are, not in relation to someone else, but as the person you were always meant to be. So do not mourn the space they left behind. Honor it. Fill it with your growth, your resilience, your newfound strength. Because one day, you will look back and realize that their absence was not the end of your story. It was the chapter where you finally learned to rise. People return when they sense you have moved on. It is a strange thing, isn't it? The moment you stop waiting, the moment you pick yourself up and start walking forward, the same people who once left suddenly find their way back. They return. Not when you are breaking, not when you are pleading for closure, but when you have already stitched your wounds and found peace within yourself. Why does this happen? Because people can feel energy. They can sense when you are no longer waiting at the doorstep of their absence. When you stop seeking answers, when you stop questioning why they left, when you finally understand that love should never have to be chased, something shifts in the universe. You see, as long as you were waiting, as long as your heart was still carrying the weight of their rejection, they had power over you. But the moment you decide that your happiness does not depend on them, the moment you start loving yourself the way they never could, they feel it, and it unsettles them. It is not always love that brings them back. Sometimes it is curiosity, wondering how you survived without them. Sometimes it is guilt, realizing that they walked away from something rare. And sometimes it is fear. The fear of truly losing you, not just physically, but emotionally, spiritually, completely. But my dear, when they come back, ask yourself this. Do they return because they have changed, or do they return only because you have? Do they come back to cherish you, or simply to reassure themselves that they can still have access to your heart? You owe it to yourself to not mistake their return for destiny. Not everyone who finds their way back deserves a place in the home you rebuilt. Because love, real love, does not need absence to understand value. It does not leave only to return when it is convenient. So when they come back, stand firm in your growth. Remember the nights you spent finding yourself again. Remember the tears that turned into strength. And remember this, you do not need someone to return to prove your worth. You are always enough. You deserve someone who chooses you without hesitation. Have you ever seen the way the sun rises every morning? Without doubt, without delay. It does not ask if the world is ready for its light. It does not wait for permission to shine. It simply rises, bold, unwavering, constant. That is how love should be. That is how someone should choose you, without hesitation, without uncertainty, without condition. But too often we settle for less. We accept love that is unsure, love that comes with a question mark instead of a period. We wait for someone to be ready, for someone to figure things out, for someone to come back when the time is right. And in doing so, we forget the most important truth. Real love does not make you feel like an option. Real love does not put you on hold. If someone truly values you, they will not leave you guessing. They will not ask you to prove your worth over and over again. They will not disappear when things get difficult, only to return when it is convenient for them. Because love is not meant to be a puzzle where you constantly wonder if you are enough. You deserve someone who looks at you and knows, without a doubt, without fear, that you are worth choosing. Not just on the good days, not just when it is easy, but every single day. You deserve someone whose love does not waver, someone who does not need time apart to realize what they have, someone who does not come back only when they see you thriving without them. Because the truth is, love should never feel like a battle to be won. It should not require convincing. It should not demand that you shrink yourself just to fit into someone else's comfort zone. The right person will not ask you to wait while they decide. They will not treat your heart like a revolving door, leaving when it suits them and returning when they feel lonely. So stop waiting for hesitant love. Stop settling for half-hearted commitments. Stop excusing someone's inability to choose you. Because you, my dear, deserve a love that is sure, a love that is steady, a love that does not come with an expiration date. Your self-worth should not depend on their return. There is a moment after they leave when you sit in the silence and ask yourself, was I not enough? You replay every conversation, every moment, searching for the exact place where you failed, where you should have been more, loved more, done more. Because somewhere in the depths of your heart, you believe that if they come back, it will mean that you were always worthy. That their return will be proof that you were never the problem. But my dear, listen to me. Your self-worth is not measured by who stays or who leaves. It is not defined by whether they come back, whether they apologize, whether they finally realize what they lost, because your worth was never in their hands to begin with. Too often we tie our value to the love and acceptance of others. We believe that if someone chooses us, we must be special, and if they walk away, we must be lacking. But love is not a prize you win for being good enough. And rejection is not a punishment for failing to be perfect. Some people leave because they do not recognize the treasure in front of them. Some people walk away because they are not ready to receive the kind of love you offer. And some people come back not because they suddenly see your worth, but because they see that you have started to see it yourself. But do not let their absence define your value. And do not let their return be the validation you seek. You are not whole because someone chooses you. You are whole because you choose yourself. You are not beautiful because someone says so. You are beautiful because you exist, because you breathe, because you carry a heart that knows how to love, despite the pain it has endured. So if they come back, let it be nothing more than a reminder of how far you have come. Let it be proof, not that you needed them to return, but that you never needed them at all to be complete. Because your worth is not in their hands. It never was. It was always within you. When they come back, ask yourself, do you still want what once broke you? There is a moment that many of us have lived through. The moment when the person who once left, who once made you question your worth, suddenly returns. They stand at your doorstep, speaking words you once begged to hear, offering the love they once denied you, and for a split second, your heart forgets everything. The pain, the nights spent wondering why you were not enough, the tears you wiped away alone, all of it fades, and you are left with one overwhelming thought. They came back. But my dear, before you open that door, before you welcome them with the same heart they once shattered, pause, breathe, and ask yourself, do I still want what once broke me? Because love loves real, unwavering love does not leave only to return when it is convenient. It does not throw you into darkness and then expect to be welcomed back like the light. It does not teach you how to live without it, only to return when it sees you thriving on your own. You see, people return for many reasons. Sometimes it is love, sometimes it is regret, and sometimes it is simply the realization that you were never the one who lacked anything. It was them. But their return is not the miracle you once wished for. It is a question, a test, a moment of reckoning. Have you healed enough to know that you deserve better? Think back to the days when they left. Think back to the nights when you wondered if you would ever feel whole again. Think of the strength it took to rebuild yourself from the pieces they left behind. You did that, not them. You survived, you grew. You found peace in the absence that once felt unbearable. And now here they are, asking for a place in the home you rebuilt. But do they come back with hands that will hold your heart gently this time? Or do they return simply because they see that you no longer need them? My dear, love should not be a cycle of breaking and returning. It should not require you to lose yourself just to be chosen again. So when they come back, do not ask yourself if they love you now. Ask yourself if you still want to hand your heart back to the very hands that once let it slip away. Because the truth is, sometimes the greatest closure is not in taking them back. Sometimes the greatest closure is simply smiling and saying, I no longer need what once made me question my worth. Life has a way of bringing people back just when we no longer need them. The ones who once walked away, the ones who left us questioning our worth, the ones who could not see our value until we saw it ourselves, they return. But their return is not a validation of your worth. It is not proof that you were finally good enough for them. It is only a reflection of their own realization, their own regrets, their own fears of truly losing you. But here is what I want you to remember. You do not have to let them back in. You do not have to rewrite a story that was meant to end. You do not have to accept a love that was hesitant, uncertain, or only present when it was convenient. Because love, real, beautiful, unwavering love, does not leave only to return when it sees you shining on your own. So if they come back, let it not be a moment of weakness, but a moment of strength. Let it remind you of how far you have come, of how much you have grown, of how beautifully you have rebuilt yourself in the space they left behind. Let it be a reminder that your worth was never in their hands. It was always within you. And when you stand at that crossroads, choosing between the past that broke you and the future you deserve, I hope you choose yourself. I hope you choose the love that does not make you question, that does not leave, that does not need absence to understand value.